No Talking by Andrew Clements. Chapter 1. Zipped. Dave Packer was in the middle of his fourth hour of not talking. He was also in the middle of his social studies class and on a Monday morning in the middle of November. And Lakin Elementary School was in the middle of a medium-sized town in the middle of New Jersey. There was no reason Dave was in the middle of his fourth hour of not talking. But this ain't the time to talk about that. This is the time to tell what he figured out in the middle of his social studies class. Dave figured that not talking is extra hard at school. And the reason? Teachers. Because at 11:35, Mrs. Overy clapped her hands and said, "Class, class, quiet down." Then looked at her list and said, "Dave and Lindsay, you're next." So Dave nodded at Lindsay and stood up. It was time to present their report about India. But giving this report would ruin his experiment, because Dave was trying to keep his mouth shut all day. He wanted to keep his lips zipped right up to the very end of the day, to not say one single word until the last bell rang at 10 after 3. And the reason Dave had decided to clam up. But it still isn't the time to tell about that. This is the time to tell what he did about the report. Dave and Lindsay walked to the front of the room. Dave was supposed to begin the presentation by telling about the history of India. He looked down at his index cards, looked up at Mrs. Overby, looked at the class, opened his mouth, but he didn't talk. He coughed. Dave coughed for about 10 seconds. Then he wiped his mouth, looked at the index cards again, looked at Mrs. Overy again, looked at the class again, opened his mouth again, and coughed some more. He coughed and coughed and coughed until his face was bright red and he was all bent over. Lindsay stood over there feeling helpless. Dave hadn't told her about this experiment, so all she could do was watch and listen to his horrible coughing. Lindsay's opinion of Dave had never been high. It sank lower by seconds. Mrs. Overy thought she knew what was happening with Dave. She had seen this before. Kids who got so nervous that they made themselves sick rather than talk in front of the class. It surprised her, because Dave wasn't shy at all, ever. In fact, none of the year's fifth graders were the least bit shy or nervous about talking, ever. But the teacher took pity, and she said, "You'd better get some water. You, too, can give your report later." Lindsay gave Dave a disgusted look and went back to her desk. Dave nodded at Mrs. Overy, coughed a few more times for good measure. He hurried out of the room, and with Dave out in the hall getting a drink, it's the perfect time to tell why he was in the middle of his fourth year of not talking, and why he had decided to keep quiet in the first place.